Hello and welcome to another Keepsake Crafts jewelry making video. Today we'll be making this necklace using fancy Jasper stones, triple strands, and a different twist from other projects we've made. We'll be using these spacer bars to keep our strands right in place. To make this necklace, I have chosen 5 different types of beads. I started with this strand of fancy Jasper dagger-shaped beads that I picked up at a bead show. They're called fancy Jasper because it's not just one color, it's an interesting variation. You get lots of greens, some pinks and reds, some browns, even some kind of orangey beige. And you could, if you wanted to, actually separate out just the greens or just the pinks, but I like the mix, so I'll be using the mix. To go with these beads, I've chosen, first of all, some brass beads. These are 4mm round beads, and these are 2mm slightly faceted. I'll show you just a few. You can see they have just a little bit of cuts to them. There. To stretch our brass beads, I've chosen these little wooden discs that the color goes, and they're just an interesting contrast, and they'll help stretch our brass beads, which are getting rather expensive. And also I have some little black seed beads. When you're choosing the beads to go with a strand of special beads, you might want to take a little bit of time. I actually spent quite a while stringing samples of the Jasper beads. I tried larger black beads, I tried some larger faceted brass beads, and finally settled on these combinations. So you might want to take a little while and just try different combinations and see which ones you like best. In addition to the beads, you will need 3 20-inch pieces of bead stringing wire. If your beads are lighter, you can use bead stringing thread. However, these stones are rather heavy, so I'll be using wire. You'll also need 2 6-inch pieces of chain, a clasp, and a jump ring to attach it. If your chain is fine, you'll need possibly up to 3 other jump rings, but mine's chunky, so I won't. You'll need 2 eye pins. You'll need spacer bars. These are great. These are often used in bracelets with multiple strands, but we're going to use them today to keep our multi-strand necklace in place. You'll also need 2 bead caps and some crimps. For tools, these are a great little tool. These are called bead bugs. I think these are the mini variety. It's just a spring with handles, and what you do is clamp it onto your beading wire, just like that. And you can clamp it onto one end, then do all your stringing, clamp another one onto the other end. And for people who are klutzy like me, folks who are klutzy like me, you don't have to worry about spilling your beads and having to do a bunch of restringing. So bead bugs or hemostats or anything else you have to clamp your wire. For tools, you'll need the usual, some round nose pliers. You'll need a couple pair of chain nose pliers. You'll need wire cutters, possibly a crimp tool, and I think that will do it. So let me clear the decks a bit and I'll show you how we get started. So here I've gone ahead and started stringing my main strand of beads, and you'll want to do this first as well. Just decide what you want, what looks best with your focal beads, so to speak, your main beads, and I've decided to alternate with these little round brass beads. And so the first thing to do is to string 16 inches of your main beads and your accent beads. On your 20-inch wire, string 3 16-inch strands of beads for your necklace. So now you can see I've gone ahead and strung my 3 strands, my one with the main beads and then 2 others to coordinate. Takes a little bit of time. The next thing that you want to do is lay out your strands to determine their order in your necklace. So again, we'll start with our main one and just lay it out like a necklace, and then position the other one to decide where it's going to go. I think I like that one on the inside better than the outside. And oh, maybe we'll, yeah, I think that looks good. We'll graduate, so the smallest on the inside and then the larger on the outside. And the reason we do this is because the one on the inside is going to be ever so slightly shorter than the one on the outside. The next step, let me put this down so you can see what I'm doing. The next step is to take one of your spacer bars. Now, if you can't find spacer bars with just 3, if you find them with 5 or 4 or however many, you keep in mind you don't have to use every single hole. They're just there to help you, so you can skip holes altogether. So then we're just going to string these through and put my clip back on for a minute. Okay. Yeah, I think I like the way that looks. Next, I always put the clips on even though I'm only working for a few minutes, just because I do tend to knock things over easily. Next, you'll want to put a few of your smaller beads on these strands because they're going to go from the spacer bar up into a bead cap. So maybe half a dozen, half an inch, 3/4 of an inch of your smallish beads. I think I'm going to use these. You could also use the seed beads. So go ahead and do that, and then I'll show you how to put it into the bead cap. Once you have your wires strung through your spacer bar and a few smallish beads strung on the ends, you'll want to finish these ends with a crimp bead. Now you may not know it, but crimps actually come in different sizes, and there are actually different size crimp pliers for different size crimps, and they also go with different wires. These happen to be a little big for my crimpers, so I'm just using a pair of chain nose pliers to flatten them out. And the way you do it, slide the crimp bead onto your wire, and then go ahead and slide the end of the wire back through the crimp bead. Slide the crimp up so that there's just a small loop of wire. Let me see if I can, there we are. So there's just a small loop of wire. That's actually too much, but what I'm going to do is first make sure these wires are not crossing in the bead. We want them lying flat so that they'll be squished together securely. Go ahead and grab that bead with your chain nose pliers and then slide it up. So there's just, that's maybe too little, just maybe 1/8 of an inch. And I'm actually going to go down a little further on my crimpers. And now you can just give that a good squeeze. Always test it. Grab it. Oh, see that one pulled off, so I'll have to do it again. But that's how you do it. And once you have it on, see this one's nice and secure. Once you have it on, you don't need to, if it's secured properly, no amount of tail is actually going to do you any good. Let me zoom back out for you. So once you have your crimp secure on your wire, you can just trim off the excess wire, because if it's not secure, no amount of tail is really going to do you any good. So go ahead and repeat, adding a crimp to each of these 3 wires. So now I've added crimp beads to each of these ends of wire and made a loop. And the next thing you'll want to grab is your eye pin. And just go ahead and use a pair of chain nose pliers and open that by twisting it to the side. You don't want to pull it apart, same reason you don't want to pull a jump ring apart, but twist it open. And then you can go ahead and slip each of those little wire loops right onto that eye pin. Okay. And go ahead and close up your eye pin. Then slide that eye pin right into the cap, your bead cap, and I can see there's a little bit too much wire that I left hanging down, so I just want to trim that. All right. Slide on your bead cap, and next we'll make a wrapped loop up here. So grab the wire right where it comes out of the bead cap and bend it at a 90-degree angle. Grab it with chain nose pliers. Then use round nose pliers to grab that bend. Wrap up and over the round nose pliers as far as you can. Then, and that's about as far as you can get, reposition your round nose pliers so you can finish the loop and bring it out so that your wire, just straighten that out a little, is at a 90-degree angle to the first wire that's coming out of the cap. Then go ahead and grab that loop with a pair of chain nose pliers, and if you need to, if this is short, you can grab that with pliers as well, but this is long enough that I don't need to. Go ahead and wrap it around that stem that's coming out of your cap. And then use some flush cut pliers to trim off the excess. And here's a great little tip for tucking in that extra wire. Here's a great use for your crimpers. Use that. Can you see that rounded part of the crimper at the closer to the tips? You can put that right over your wire and tuck in that end. Isn't that beautiful? All right, now we're just going to slide everything down. So slide all our beads down, and I'll come back when I have this mess kind of cleared up, and we'll be ready to do the other side. Now is the time where you see what I meant by the strands, the inside strands being longer, and they need to be shorter. I went ahead and had you string the same amount of beads on each strand because it was hard to know until we reached this point just how much each strand needs to be. So at this point, what you'll need to do is remove beads. I've decided I like this spacing, but I could just as well make this one come way down here. I could make them any way I want, and you can do the same with your necklace. Whatever kind of spacing pleases you. You could bring this one way up. Whatever works for you. But what you want to do is remove the beads from the strand that you're not going to use. That will make it the length that you want it to be. And then repeat what we did over here. Add your spacer bar. Add the same amount of smallish beads to each strand. Fasten it with a crimp and leave a loop of wire. And then attach that to the eye pin. Slide on your bead cap and make a wrapped loop. So go ahead and be a designer and decide how you want these to be spaced, and then go ahead and finish up the other end. So here we are with all 3 strands wired up into our separators, our spacers, and into a bead cap. The final steps are just to add chain to each of those wrapped loops and then add a lobster clasp. Now if you have fine chain that doesn't have big links like this, then you'll need to use jump rings to attach the chain to your bead cap loops. This is chunky, so I will just use the links, but let me show you how to open up a jump ring. You just want to grab it with, let me zoom in a little for you. You want to grab it with the split at 12 o'clock with a pair of chain nose pliers, and then grab the other side with a pair of chain nose pliers. Push one side away from you and pull the other towards you so that it's opened like that. See it from the side. And then we'll just slip on our clasp and slip on our chain. And then to make sure that your jump ring is closed nice and securely, when you pull it back towards you, go ahead and press inward just a little bit so that those ends rub right up against each other. And that's how you'll get a nice tightly closed, securely closed jump ring. So go ahead and add your chain and you're all done. So here's another look at the necklace that we made today. I hope that you enjoyed this project and that you'll give it a try. Go ahead and find yourself some beads that you love, find some accent beads that go with them, and make yourself something beautiful. Thank you so much for watching Keepsake Crafts videos. For more ideas in jewelry making and crafting inspiration, please be sure to check out keepsakecrafts.net. Subscribe by email or feed reader, and be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel so you don't miss a thing. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.